Oi! Yes! What is going on, you guys? I put up this link less than 5 minutes ago. Welcome to the last episode of Balls Deep Breakdown of the Week with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. I just got back from a fantasy football draft, so I didn't even have a chance to put the link out and announce that it was going to be done. But I did tell you last night that I was going to be on tonight. Got enough time for the club and sub guys to finish up with their podcast. And now we could talk about one specific fight on this UFC Vegas 46 card. We had to do this one. There's no way we couldn't. I mean, it's one of the only fights, first of all, that even hasn't been canceled or had a new opponent thus far. So we're going to do Rogerio Bontorin versus Brandon Royval. Probably one of the most exciting fights of the night. It's the fight that has the most probable fight to end inside the distance on Saturday. Two fantastic feather or flyweights here, 125 pounders. I can't wait for this one. Royval's never been in a boring fight, and Bontorin is an absolute banger. Can't wait to talk about this one with you guys. Since I didn't tell anybody, most of you guys aren't even in here yet, but we got my guy Chris Kalanzis in the room, one of the people that I just had the fantasy football draft with. And that gentleman right there that you see his picture, he had a much better draft than I did because I spent all my time talking about mixed martial arts. So I've gotten my ass shaved in fantasy football this year. It was a rough year for your Uncle Weezy, but you know what? We want it to be a good year in MMA because that's all that matters. And it starts, you guys, with UFC Vegas 46. And that means we've got to see if my guy Smooth Jimmy is ready to go here, because if he's ready to go, we can start this Balls Deep breakdown and start looking at this particular flyweight battle from all the possible angles here and see if we can find some betting spots together to come up with to make some money and stack some cash tickets like flapjacks on Saturday night. And as you could tell, with enthusiasm, with class, with vigor, we got one Smooth Jimmy Apollo with his lock of the week and his cigar and his capped teeth, which look white as Charles Oliveira's right now. And I'm pouring myself a lovely beverage here because it's already almost 11 o'clock Chicago time. And I am going to have a nightcap here and enjoy myself while we talk about this fantastic fight. And Kalanzis is saying Uncle Weezy balled out this year in 5 out of 6 fantasy football leagues. That is, yeah, by balled out means it means I got nowhere in 5 out of 6 fantasy football leagues. So, yeah, it definitely was a rough year for me. But let's start, like we always do, with the tail of the tape for this banger here, you guys. Both of these guys, Bontorin and Royval, 29 years old. It's going to be Royval much taller than Bontorin here, 4 inches taller. He's 5'9", Bontorin's 5'5". Royval's got a 1-inch reach advantage. Royval is a southpaw while Bontorin fights out of the orthodox stance. We got Royval at Factory X, and Rogerio Bontorin is coming out of the Gile Ribeiro team. So we've got these guys actually have a pretty similar experience pedigree here, as Bontorin has 3 more fights, 15 more minutes in the pro cage. Both of these guys' average fight time as pros is right around 7 minutes, and they've both had careers that span between 8 and 9 years long. So very, very similar on the experience. It's going to be Royval who's much taller here. He's a huge featherweight, and Bontorin is actually pretty small for the division, but he's also very, very thick. And he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, just like Brandon Royval is. Both of these guys are very well-rounded mixed martial artists, and it promises to be a very exciting fight. Now, if we go a little further down here into the UFC experience for these two gentlemen, we're going to see that Bontorin has 2 more fights at the UFC level. He's 4-2 in the UFC, while Brandon is 2-2. And we got about 37 more minutes in the UFC cage for Bontorin. Bontorin's fights averaging 10.41 minutes, while Royval's averaging 6.46. So I believe all 4 of Brandon Royval's UFC fights have ended inside the distance. While if we look at Bontorin, we see that 2 of those 4 wins have been finished inside the distance, and 1 of the 2 losses. So 3 of Bontorin's 6 fights have finished inside the distance, and 4 of 4 Royval. So we got 7 out of these guys' 10 combined UFC fights have finished inside the distance. One of the reasons that this is the most probable fight, according to the bookies, to finish inside the distance on the entire card, including Qatar Chikadze, including Collier, Fat Collier against Sherman, and any of the other fights, at least thus far, now that we've got the 2 late-minute replacements for Kelleher and for TJ Brown. I haven't seen what the fight doesn't go to decision odds for those fights are yet. But this one is the most probable to finish inside the distance, and there's probably a couple reasons for that. I mean, they're both explosive. Brandon Royval is very good everywhere. His striking is explosive. He takes a lot of chances, and I think him taking chances the way that he does, it allows him to make big plays and also to shit his pants every once in a while by over punching, having his back taken standing, getting dragged to the ground, and getting choked out, which is what happened against Pantoja. And the same thing happened against Moreno. And on his way down to the ground, he got his shoulder dislocated, I believe, in the Moreno fight. That was a bad injury. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. But yeah, both of these guys are pretty good finishers too. I mean, we look as a pro, a 92% finish rate for Brandon Royval, 11 of 12 wins inside the distance. And of Bontorin, 17 wins, we got an 83% finish rate. So that would be 14 of 17 wins finishing inside the distance for Bontorin. And they've both been finished in losses. But for Royval, it's only 2 out of 6 losses. And Bontorin, it's 2 out of 3 losses. And we got our guys in the room here, by the way. My guy Daz File saying, let's fucking go. Oi time, baby. And we got Nick Alexander with the beer. Yes, that's right, my man. Time for a beverage. It's that late. And then we've got Lou Betya in the room. I got a call with Lou Betya tomorrow, man. This is my guy right here, the guy building the database that houses all the stats that your Uncle Weezy has caretakingly assembled over the last 18 months, and we are trusting it to one of the most trustworthy members of the MMA Twitter, of the YouTube gambling community, Mr. Lou Betya. This one's for you, Lou. Thank you for all your help with the database. I will be talking with you tomorrow, brother. And he says, I came for the balls. I will stay for the breakdown. And MMA Asphalt said, let's go Brady. Oi. And I'm Weezy, but, obviously Brady is the guy that I do Stat Diggers with. Brady is the guy that I do Best Bet with. Brady is the guy that I do the DFS show on Pub Sports Radio that we did earlier today with. So people get me mixed up with him because we're constantly doing MMA content together. MMA Asphalt, it's always good to see you in here, brother. You're one of the biggest supporters of the channel, and I appreciate you. So let's start on these striking statistics, you guys. Very interesting stuff with the striking. We look at guys that hit hard and get hit hard. If we see Brandon Royval is landing 3.44 significant strikes per minute and absorbing only 2.98, he's throwing a lot more volume than his opponents are. 8.39 significant strike attempts per minute for Royval. His opponents are only throwing 5.57. So Royval really does bring the chaos when he comes into the cage. 41% striking accuracy is not spectacular. However, 2 knockdowns in 4 fights for a flyweight is spectacular. He's landing a knockdown on 2.25% of the total significant strikes that he's landed, and that averages out to 1.16 knockdowns per 15 minutes. But also, as explosive as Royval is in the offense, he's also getting knocked down. As we see, he's been knocked down once in 77 significant strikes absorbed. He's showing a sub 50% striking defense at 46.53, and he's getting knocked down on 1.3% of the significant strikes absorbed, and that averages out to 0.58 knockdowns absorbed per 15 minutes. So Brandon Royval hits hard, and he gets hit hard. He's very explosive. He throws everything with full power. However, he's also very sloppy, and he will overcommit. He can be sloppy in his grappling. He could be sloppy standing, but he's also very, very difficult to deal with on the feet because some of that sloppiness can also just be considered to be chaos. It's chaos, and defensively, it's extremely difficult to deal with. You really can't plan for a fighter like Brandon Royval. You just have to kind of thrive in the chaos and make good, safe decisions while he's flying at you and just throwing limbs everywhere. There's a reason that Brandon Royval's all 4 of those fights have finished inside the distance in the UFC, and it is that style. Somebody's going to get tired quickly, and it's usually not Brandon. And but also Brandon just is so reckless that he will leave himself open to either get knocked down, or he will leave himself open to have his back taken on the ground and be choked out. So he does take a lot of risks. Bontorin is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in his own right. He's absorbing more strikes than he lands, though. He lands 2.82 per minute and absorbs 3.41. He's got a 53% striking accuracy, so he's been a lot more accurate than Royval has. However, he hasn't landed any knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, and he's showing a 43% striking defense on the feet. Not very good either, although that might be a little bit skewed because a lot of Bontorin's fights have taken place on the ground. But he has been knocked down on about one half of 1% of the significant strikes that he's absorbed, and that is averaging out to 0.24 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. So Brandon Royval is more powerful, but he's also more chinny. It looks like Bontorin is more accurate, but Royval actually has the slightly better striking defense on paper. Bontorin also has been knocked down. It was Kai Kara-France that knocked him down. But what we do know is we will talk about that common opponent, Kai Kara-France, here in a little bit. Now, when we look at the grappling statistics, we're going to view it through the lens that Royval has 4 UFC fights and Bontorin has 6 UFC fights. So in 4 UFC fights, Royval has only attempted 2 takedowns, you guys. He's gotten both of them. That's 1.16 takedowns for 15 minutes, and he's very active hunting for submissions on the ground, 1.74 submission attempts per 15 minutes. And he's getting 14% control time while he's being controlled 44.1% of the time. That means about 59% of his fights are taking place in control time positions. If we look at the takedown defense for Brandon, it's not good at all. Even on the regional scene, basically whenever you try to take this guy down, you will get him down. There's no takedown defense there. There doesn't even look like he tries to stop takedowns, to be honest with you. He just seems to be very happy on the ground to play his jiu-jitsu game and to hunt for submissions. So 9 out of 19 takedowns defended for 52.63%. He's being taken down a whopping 5.22 times per 15 minutes, and he's having 2.32 submission attempts against him per 15 minutes. And like I said, being controlled at a 44% rate is about a 3-to-1 ratio that his opponents are out controlling him on the ground. Now, Bontorin, these numbers are not complete because the Bontorin numbers, we don't have control time for his contender series fight against Gustavo Gabriel. We don't have control time numbers there, but we do have 2 takedowns for Bontorin and 2 takedown attempts for Gabriel here. So there's a pretty good chance that this fight took place in control time positions for a decent amount of time with Gabriel being on the bottom and Bontorin being on the top because he was the one getting the takedowns. And he actually did get a submission in that fight, did Bontorin. And there were no reversals on the ground for his opponent. So the control time numbers aren't exactly accurate, but Bontorin, according to my stats, not including the control time numbers from the contender series fight, is being out-controlled at about a 3% rate here. 43.75% takedown offense, though, is very good. 7 of 16 takedowns in 6 fights. So if Bontorin wants to take down Royval, it'll be very easy for him to do so. Of course, once it gets there, he's going to be dodging submissions the entire time. Now, Bontorin is a very good grappler. He has racked up control time positions in his fights, with the exception of the Ray Borg fight. And Ray Borg is definitely a guy that can absolutely, you'll wear him like a coat during a 3-round fight. And Borg took him down 10 times, which is part of the reason that he's allowed 14 takedowns in just 6 fights. But Bontorin can take down Royval because Royval has piss poor takedown defense. But then if we look at Bontorin, it's the exact same thing, you guys. He's showing even worse takedown percentage, takedown defense than Brandon Royval here at 51.72%. He's being taken down 3.36 times per 15 minutes in his own right and being out-controlled by his opponents 21.88% to 18.49%. So Bontorin is, though, a lot more efficient in terms of at least he gets takedowns, at least he gets control time. And if you were to throw out that Ray Borg fight, he would be actually significantly out-controlling his opponents. So while Royval is very active hunting for submissions on the ground, I do see Bontorin being the one that can win minutes on the ground because he's going to be the one probably more likely to attempt takedowns, as Bontorin attempts almost 3 takedowns per fight, while Brandon Royval is only attempting 1/2 of 1 takedown per fight. So Bontorin's the more willing wrestler, and why wouldn't he be, as long as he felt like he could be safe on the ground against Royval and handle those submission attempts that he's going to throw up? It should be pretty easy for Bontorin to take advantage of some bad striking by Royval, maybe duck around, get his back. He can get his back standing. He can take him down. But, once it gets down to the ground, it's anybody's fight. And while it's standing, I think Bontorin's probably the guy that would be more likely to kind of stand in front of you and stay in the pocket and trade with you, while Royval is just going to be like chaotic, throwing the kitchen sink at you, not letting you breathe, marching you down, and really just throwing all of his power into all the strikes, kicks, knees, elbows, punches, all the targets, legs, body, everything. I mean, like, this guy he's impossible to plan for. He really is. So Bontorin is going to have to be calm in the face of all this chaos that Royval is going to bring. He's a very hard guy to plan for. So it's a difficult fight to handicap. I think that Royval will be landing the better strikes on the feet. I think that Bontorin will probably control more minutes on the ground, but he might be defending so many submissions that it may not look like he's winning. But you cannot be overly sure in a guy like Royval because he makes so many mistakes, both on the feet and on the ground. It's really difficult to trust this guy because there is so little process to what he does other than just trying to drown you in volume and variety and pace. And he does do that. He's about as good as that at that in this division as we have right now in the flyweight division. Somebody just throws caution to the wind, throws the kitchen sink at you in terms of all the types of different strikes that he throws. And the problem with Bontorin that we need to address here is that in this last fight against Matt Danger Schnell, they moved this fight up to 135, and Bontorin didn't even make weight there. And PayPal My Money brought up a good point in the DFS show on Pub Sports Radio earlier today, where he mentioned that not only did Bontorin not make weight and weigh in at 137 for a fight he was supposed to weigh in at 136 when he's a flyweight anyway, he got caught using an illegal diuretic to try to cut weight. So he couldn't even, while cheating to make weight up a weight class. So Brandon Royval's pace could certainly be a huge problem here for Rogerio Bontorin. And then if we look at the strength of schedule stats, you guys, it's kind of the same thing. This is another place where Royval is going to have an advantage. He's fighting the more experienced competition, and the ratio is very similar. While Bontorin is beating the better ratioed competition, he's beating guys that are much less experienced with a 2.5 win and 1.5 loss record, while the guys that Royval are beating are a lot more experienced, but with a lot closer to a 500 record at 5.5 wins and 5 losses. So the wins are pretty similar, I would say. The losses, it is Royval. It's losing to the better competition here with a 2.6 ratio in comparison to about a 1.6 ratio for Bontorin, 9 total fights. So the average guy that beats Royval has a record of 6.5 and 2.5 in the UFC. And the average guy that beats Bontorin has a record of 5.5 and 3.5. So we do know that the 2 losses in the UFC for Brandon Royval were against the current champion, Moreno, due to an injury, and also to Alexander Pantoja, who's a guy who has beaten the current champion, Brandon Moreno, twice in his career. So 2 of the top 3 featherweights in this division are the guys that have beaten Royval. And not only that, Royval has beaten Kai Kara France, who beat Rogerio Bontorin. So we do have a common opponent here. Royval finished France, and Bontorin was finished by France in the first round. But Bontorin actually did rack up a bunch of control time in that first round. But once Kai Kara France got up in the last 30 seconds there, kind of drowned him with volume, found his chin, and dropped him. And that is something, Bontorin has been knocked out before, you guys. So Royval is a guy that hits very hard. And like I say, it could be a knee, it could be a kick, it could be a punch, it could be an elbow. The guy really does throw the kitchen sink at his opponents. Let's see what you guys are saying, though, here in the chat. Because I've been, let's see here. Yeah, and then Dazfile saying, thanks, Lou Betya. And I agreed, man. Lou Betya is the man. And we got MMA Asphalt saying, laughing my ass off. I just smoked a fat bowl. My bad. Yeah, dude, it's quite all right, man. You are never going to get disrespected or talked down to because you smoked a bowl in this room, my friend. Marijuana is not the worst thing in the world. That is for goddamn sure. Because if it was the worst thing in the world, I would be dead. Lou Betya saying, ha. And we got Asphalt saying, I'll give you some of what I'm smoking because I'm losing it. Let me wait until after I'm done with the show. And then maybe I will join you, Asphalt. Sounds like a plan, actually. We got Paul Brassfield saying, oi, thanks, Weezy. Thought you skipped tonight. Yeah, dude, it was just that I knew I was going to be out in the suburbs doing this draft. And I didn't want to set a time while I was out there saying I'd be back by 10 or 10:30, just in case the thing ran late. And of course it ran late. So I got home and then just sent out the link immediately. But I told you guys I'd be here. I made you wait 45 minutes longer than normal, but we're here. We're doing it, and we're ready to make some money this weekend. And thank you for stopping by today, Paul. Much appreciated. And then we've got the next comment here is Nick saying Royval 2.0, more concise and measured. He's going to need to be, man, because the chaos is great. But when you look at it's the exact same move that he got taken down on by Moreno and Pantoja. And it was basically just him overextending on a punch. And as soon as he overextended, his opponent just went around that arm, got the arms around it, took him down, and then they had his back. And Pantoja choked him out like that. And Moreno got him in a really bad position after he got his back. And that's where the shoulder injury came in. So, yeah, he's got to be more measured. He's got to be less sloppy. He really does, because there are so many other things that he does well, but he's got to stay within himself when he strikes, because he looks like he's got ants in his pants, and he's just, he can't figure out how to look a little more measured, like you said. Just measured is the key word there, Nick. So, yeah, I appreciate you stopping by, and I couldn't agree more that you got to be more measured if you're Brandon Royval. And PayPal My Money DFS saying, Raw Dog, a balls deep breakdown. Yeah, man, you cannot pass on a Raw Dog fight if you are doing a balls deep breakdown. You nailed it, PayPal. Thank you for hanging out, man. Much appreciated. That is the comment of the week so far. Andretti saying, bet Bontorin last month, but switched it to Royval inside the distance. Impressed with Bontorin's fight with Kai Kara before the finish. Looked a different fighter to his DWCS fight. Yeah, man, that he was winning that fight, and he looked great. And I just remember when Kai Kara got up there with it was less than 30 seconds left in the round, I was thinking to myself, all right, just be calm here. You're winning the fight. And sure enough, he clipped him. Definitely Kai Kara, went nuts. He went a little bit beast mode after he finally got up there. He got sick of having Bontorin on him for like 3 minutes, and was a little bit angry and absolutely destroyed him. But yeah, man, thanks for popping in, Andretti. Big up yourself. Good to see you. Anaconda's Bet saying Royval has rabies energy. Man, that's a great way to put it. He absolutely does. And Paul Brassfield saying Bontorin dropping another 10 pounds just won't be good. Yeah, I mean, he's made it before, Paul. But yeah, man, I mean, if he can't make 136, and I don't know how long a notice he had there, but using a diuretic like PayPal My Money had brought up, yeah, this is a problem. And if you have money, if you have a bet already on Brandon, there's a chance that this guy, Bontorin just won't look good on the scales. We got to see how this weight cut goes and hear what his camp is saying prior to even him getting out there, because hopefully he makes weight, because it would be a shame if he missed weight again. This is why you're the best, says MMA Asphalt. And we got Nick saying Bontorin will have a rough weight cut and consequently deteriorated chin. Deteriorated chin and, rough weight cuts make it difficult to keep that gas tank going for long periods of time. So, yeah, that's another reason that could be a serious problem against an opponent that puts the pace that Brandon Royval puts on his opponents here. So, yeah, if Royval cannot do anything stupid and avoid getting caught for that first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the fight, if his gas tank holds up, chances are, if Bontorin does have a rough weight cut, he could be a little bit depleted. He could be chinny, and he could be gassy too. So it's definitely a wait and see spot. If you're on the Bontorin side, you're probably going to want to wait to see this guy on the scale before you commit any money to that side. But if he does look good on the scale, it's not bad, because Bontorin is a top 10 flyweight as well, you guys. He is very good. He's a well-rounded opponent. He brings a lot of the same skill sets that Royval does, without that sloppiness that Royval has, but also without the chaos that Royval has and the explosiveness that Royval has. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons here to like Royval in this spot. But if, like I say, if Bontorin has a good weight cut, you can't diminish the fact that Royval has put himself into a lot of bad spots thus far. We got Nandalal Razaya saying maybe he pulls a little young veteran this time and stretches this over 2.5. Yeah, that would be the first time that would happen in the UFC. But if you remember in LFA, Royval fought for the championship against Casey Kenny back in the day. And Kenny absolutely just dominated in the grappling exchanges. And the thing was, since Casey couldn't submit him, but because Royval can't stop a takedown to save his life, Kenny just kept taking him down, threatening with submissions, and it went the full 5 rounds. And I think that Royval, the best way to if you hate being in that chaos that he brings, it's just to go and take him down and do your best to hold him down and not get submitted. It can be done. We've seen other people do it. You can absolutely control Brandon Royval on the ground. He's been controlled for over 40% of the UFC cage time that he's had so far, and he's been taken down like 9 times in only 4 fights. So he's easy to take down. He's easy to hold down. The problem is, once you have him down there, you're going to be dodging submissions, leg locks, triangles, gogoplatas, omoplatas. The guy's all over the damn place. But if you're a Casey Kenny type or a Rogerio Bontorin type, who's a black belt, who's got a good background, who can defensively guard against these submissions, there is a path here for Bontorin to take this fight to the floor and to win a ton of minutes and bank rounds there and potentially win a decision, because Brandon can't stop a takedown, and because Brandon is very happy to hunt for submissions off his back. He might wind up being on his back entirely too long in this fight, and that, in my opinion, is a path to victory here for Bontorin. I think he could take Brandon's back and win an entire round just being on his back hunting for chokes, because Brandon gives up his back constantly. Mr. X in the room saying Ramiz Brahimaj at minus 132 at Circa and moving to minus 115 everywhere else. So there's a lot of money coming in on Brahimaj, because I remember earlier in the week, I was looking to bet Court McGee, and he was sitting at minus 120, and I was talking with DFS by the numbers, and he said, I think we can wait, man. There's a lot of hype on Brahimaj, and he looked fantastic in his last fight against Sasha Palatnikov. So I guess we were right. I put in a bet late last night, 1/2 of 1 unit on Court McGee by decision. I like Court to win this fight. I like him to win this fight actually quite a bit. It's one of my more confident picks on the card. But Brahimaj has got a ton of hype behind him, and he is a deadly grappler. When he gets his opponents to the ground, he is looking to finish. And he's very good at doing it when he does. But the problem with Brahimaj is he's never fought a grappler anywhere even close to Court McGee's quality. And Court McGee, over just a gigantic sample size of fights in the UFC, almost 20 of them, I believe, has only been controlled for 5.32% of his UFC career. So people are not taking down Court McGee. He's never been submitted in his career, and he's been in there with grapplers like Hannibal Silva, Sean Brady, some of the greats of the welterweight division. So Brahimaj is low level. He's a fantastic grappler, but he has not beaten anybody even close to Court McGee's level. So I don't understand why there's all this money coming in on him, other than the hype and the grappling and people thinking he can submit, Court McGee. But he would be the first one to do that. And I would hate to put my money on Ramiz Brahimaj and then have him pull another. One of the worst fight IQ performances in the history of the UFC was his debut against Max Griffin. Imagine being a grappler who has finished 100% of your wins by submission in the first round, and you go up against a guy like Max Griffin with 61% takedown defense, and you shoot for 0 takedowns in 3 rounds. So how anybody can be confident on a guy like Brahimaj is absolutely beyond me. How you're going to lay juice on a guy who has shown piss poor fight IQ and a one-dimensional style, a guy who's never won a decision, is beyond me. But I only have a small bet on Court McGee. So if I'm wrong, it won't be the end of the year for me. But yeah, I'm on McGee here. But yeah, it's very interesting that there's money coming in on Brahimaj. And we got Nick Alexander saying Bontorin gas tank depleted from the rough weight cut. Yeah, absolutely, man. Jeremiah Nicola saying, no clue this was going on tonight. How are we doing tonight? We're doing great. It's my fault that you didn't have any idea it wasn't going on. I should have put a link out earlier today, but the problem was I didn't know what time I would be back for my fantasy football draft. So I put the link out and then just started the show. So I'm doing great, man. It's a great night. It's the last night of content here on my channel until next week. So I've got a beverage here. And after we sign off tonight, I'm going to be finishing this beverage and relaxing on the couch, watching a little TV, because I think all the work for this card is done. And there might be 1 or 2 more bets coming, but I think I'm going to start working on UFC 270 late night tonight. So thank you for coming by, Jeremiah. Much appreciated. Mr. X saying Royval, always losing until he pulls it out of his ass is a bad look. And yeah, it's because he's so sloppy, Mr. X, but he's also so, like I say, so chaotic that, sometimes it's about who makes the biggest mistake the fastest. And then if you make a mistake against Royval, he's certainly very, very capable of taking advantage of it very quickly and ending the fight. And Bontorin has the BJJ edge. He's a Brazilian regional champ. Yeah, Bontorin's an excellent, excellent grappler for sure. Mr. X saying the under seems easy, but it's flyweight. Yes, Mr. X, the flyweight fights since 2013, according to my analytics, are finishing about 43% of the time. So anytime you're paying like minus 200 on a fight doesn't go to decision for the flyweight division, you're saying it's going to, finish inside the distance 66, 67% of the time, while the benchmark is telling you it's going to finish around 43% of the time. So yeah, for flyweights, it's really hard. I mean, it was one of the fight doesn't go to decisions that I liked, but because it's in this division, it's hard to pay that much juice. So I couldn't agree more by you saying that it's flyweight, and you have to be very aware of the benchmarks in all these divisions and make sure that you're not paying up too much just because you think a fight is going to finish inside the distance. And Paul is saying, yeah, I'm scared of the time props in this fight. Could be a quick finish. It absolutely could be a quick finish. Both of these guys are great finishers. They're both finishing well over 75% of their career wins. Just my 2 cents in the room. What's up, dude? Saying sup, Weezy. Good to see you in here, brother. Appreciated. Saying sup, y'all, to the room. Nick with the thumbs up. And sup, Nick. And we got Hammering Hog in the room saying, yo, Weezy, how you been, bro? Ramiz or McGee? I'm going McGee. I've got a half unit bet on him to win by decision at plus 200 on FanDuel. And I could maybe get to a money line bet, but Brahim's his grappling does scare me a little bit, but Court has swum with a lot of great grapplers over his career. So I am definitely I'm picking McGee. Just my 2 cents. I'm way more than worried for Bontorin on the feet. I'm way more worried for Bontorin on the feet than on the ground. Yeah, for sure. Because Royval just throws like caution to the wind on the feet. So if he catches you with something, you're probably going down. And Nick saying Bontorin's chin. Well, it's not great, man. Kai Kara dropped him quickly. And he cuts a ton of weight to make it down to 125 there. So we got to see how he looks on the scale. If he looks like he has a rough weight cut, that chin is going to be a problem against somebody that throws as much crazy power as Brandon Royval does, in addition to the variety. But right now we've got Brandon Royval sitting around minus 170. You can get him at minus 160 on DraftKings. And the best line we can get on Bontorin on the comeback is plus 147 on 5 dimes. The fight doesn't go to decision, juiced up above minus 200 now at minus 210 on Bet Online, and like FanDuel's minus 235, minus 225. This is a 68, 69% implied probability. So, there's not a lot of value in that line. Not for a fight that's in a division where they only finish 43% of the time. Royval has only been finished in 2 out of 6 professional losses, and one of them was because of an injury. And the other one was being submitted by Alexander Pantoja. So Bontorin by KO sitting at plus 600, plus 800 here on Bet Online. Royval by KO plus 450, plus 500 here. Royval by sub is plus 175, plus 195. And Bontorin by submission plus 600 on FanDuel is the best you can get. Bontorin by sub could be interesting. Because, like I said, Royval does give up his back a lot, and he does make a lot of mistakes. But I'm going to be picking Brandon Royval to win this fight, you guys. But I just don't think I'm going to have a bet here. I wonder what Bontorin by decision is, because I could maybe see him piling up enough minutes on the ground. And that's interesting. It's sitting at about plus 420 Bontorin by decision. If he uses his Brazilian jiu-jitsu game to accumulate a bunch of control time, which he can easily do against somebody with the piss poor takedown defense of Brandon Royval, that could be an interesting bet. Although I still think that Brandon Royval wins this fight. I don't want to bet it. And inside the distance for Royval is plus 110. I believe that that's the most likely guy to finish inside the distance according to the bookies today. So very, very highly touted Brandon Royval. A lot of people are expecting him to finish this fight. Definitely the fight doesn't go to decision. Did not open anywhere near this. It looks like it opened at minus 145 and then got bet immediately down to minus 185 and now all the way down to minus 226. I would caution you not to bet that, not to parlay that. There's just not a lot of value in that line over that 43% benchmark when you're paying a 69, 70% implied probability. You're giving a 27% edge to the bookies over the benchmark in that division for the fights to finish. So it probably will finish, but I just don't think there's a lot of value in that line. So the pick is Brandon Royval. I'm going to pick him to win this fight by knockout in the second round. But like I say, I'm not confident enough to bet it. Let's see what you guys are doing in here. What are you guys going to bet for this fight? Brasfield saying Royval is a crispy 1-2 at times. May not be anywhere for Bontorin to go here. Yeah, and then my guy, the general, is in here taking notes with Nick Alexander. It's good to see you guys. The general always making an appearances in here. We love it. Just my 2 cents. Dude, it's great to see all you guys in here. Thank you for spending a late night, Wednesday night in here with your Uncle Weezy breaking down this Bontorin Royval fight. It's going to be one of the most exciting fights of the night, so I have no problem not having a bet on it and just sitting back enjoying the action. I'm going to say Brandon Royval, KO round 2, but I do think that Rogerio Bontorin can win a lot of minutes on the ground on this fight if that's his game plan. I think it will be a good way for him to potentially win a decision here, and I think he's live to do that. And I think he's live to take advantage of some of the mistakes that Royval has made in the cage before. So I'm not confident enough in Royval to bet him, but I am picking him to win. So that's it, you guys. 40 minutes in. Let's leave it right there. Let's put a cap on the content on Uncle Weezy's channel for this week. You can catch me on Brady's Best Bet Show 1 hour before the fights start on Saturday. I will be there with Brady, Narco Cop, and Eric Betts Fights will be the new 4th on that show for this year. Can't wait to work with Eric Betts Fights there, and I always love working with Narco Cop and Brady. I appreciate everybody that watches my videos, that likes my videos, that has subscribed to the channel. You guys have almost gotten me to 1,000 subscribers. I'm less than 20 away. I have all of you guys to thank for that. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Everybody have a great night. I see my guy Jarno Portilla. I would say good night, but I know you're in Finland, so you're probably just waking up. It's the crack of dawn over there. But guess what? I'm done for the week. Thank you guys for hanging out. God bless each and every one of you. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks at UFC Vegas 46. Let's make some money this week, you guys. Take it back from the bookies, baby. Let's go.